During times of crisis, governments have historically created manuals intended to prepare civilians for everything from natural disasters to wartime attacks. What's fascinating, though, is that many of these manuals were deliberately understated or distributed in ways that kept their full potential under wraps. Today, we're going to uncover these hidden lessons and explore how ordinary people, often overlooked by official planning, could survive in the most extreme situations. This isn't just history. It's actionable knowledge you can use to understand survival, civil preparedness, and the mindset of governments during times of stress. Governments have long assumed civilians are unreliable in crises, but manuals were quietly prepared to bridge the gap. During both World Wars, the United States and Britain produced survival guides for civilians, yet most of them were never widely publicized. Take, for example, the United States Office of Civilian Defense Manuals from 1942. These weren't just pamphlets about blackout procedures. They contained practical instructions on how to purify water, build makeshift shelters, and even create rudimentary first aid kits from household items. The reasoning was simple. Officials assumed that if the public was left entirely on its own, chaos would erupt. By providing selective knowledge, governments could improve survival rates while maintaining control over information. For us today, studying these manuals reveals how basic preparedness can drastically improve outcomes. You don't need an entire arsenal. Even understanding proper water purification techniques or how to fortify a home against fire or flood can save lives. Some of the most shocking advice was intentionally buried because it gave civilians too much autonomy. Many manuals contained instructions that, if followed, could have made ordinary citizens remarkably self-sufficient, potentially undermining wartime rationing or civil control. In Britain, pamphlets distributed during the Blitz taught civilians how to identify edible weeds, make stretchers from household items, and even improvise gas masks. These guides were practical, detailed, and sometimes even life-saving, yet they were quietly tucked away in libraries or distributed through obscure channels. Today, we can apply these lessons by maintaining a personal knowledge base that covers multiple survival scenarios. For instance, learning to forage safely isn't just a hobby. It's a skill that can sustain you if conventional food supplies are disrupted. Similarly, knowing how to turn a basic household item into a functional tool or shelter can make a critical difference in emergencies. Understanding historical manuals can inform modern survival planning. It's tempting to dismiss these manuals as relics, but their principles are timeless. Civilian survival guides weren't limited to wartime scenarios. They covered fires, floods, blackouts, and civil unrest. Reading them today allows us to see patterns in human vulnerability and resilience. Consider the emphasis on water storage and purification. During World War II, manuals advised storing water in clean containers, boiling when necessary, and using rudimentary filtration techniques like cloth or sand layers. Modern preppers can take this advice further, using commercially available filters while respecting the same underlying principle. Safe drinking water is your lifeline. The lesson here is about adaptability. What worked for civilians in 1942 can be adapted with modern materials for a more efficient approach today. Some lessons, are about mindset as much as physical preparation. Survival manuals didn't just teach tactics, they cultivated resilience. Repeatedly, they stressed remaining calm, assessing resources rationally and preparing mentally for disruptions. For example, the British pamphlets on rationing encouraged families to plan meals, rotate supplies, and maintain morale through structured routines. These weren't mere suggestions, they were essential survival strategies that could prevent panic and resource depletion. Applying this today means creating mental frameworks for crisis management, developing daily routines in a preparedness context, rotating stored food, regularly checking emergency kits, and rehearsing evacuation routes can prevent minor setbacks from becoming disasters. You can turn historical manuals into a modern survival curriculum. One practical approach is to treat these manuals as case studies. Take a single pamphlet, such as the 1940 Air Raid Precautions Guide, and practice its instructions in a controlled environment. Set up a temporary shelter using household materials, stockpile water according to its guidelines, and cook a simple meal from basic, non-perishable ingredients. By doing this, you don't just learn theory, you acquire hands-on skills. Over time, expanding this exercise to include fire safety drills, first aid practice, and situational assessments creates a layered survival knowledge base, grounded in history but fully applicable today. Modern survivalists can benefit from knowing what governments kept quiet. The most compelling insight from these manuals isn't just their advice. It's the fact that governments assumed citizens were largely unprepared. By studying what they offered quietly, you gain access to strategies that were historically restricted, giving you a head start in contemporary preparedness. Whether it's for extreme weather, economic collapse, or civil disruption, these lessons remain relevant. The key is to combine historical knowledge with modern tools, use archival manuals for foundational tactics, then integrate current technology, supplies, and communication strategies to create a robust survival plan. Understanding and applying these manuals doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you informed. Every instruction in these guides is a small window into both history and practical self-sufficiency. For anyone serious about history or survival, ignoring these resources is a missed opportunity. If you found this exploration of the civilian survival manuals governments didn't want people to ignore valuable, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Share this video with fellow history buffs and prepper enthusiasts, and join our growing community of viewers who aren't just interested in history, they're learning from it. Stay prepared, stay informed, and always dig a little deeper.